Confidence is a lie. This is different. This will reprogram how you think, how you react under pressure, how you move when others freeze. You will start seeing fear differently. You will start using silence differently. You will start making decisions with a level of control that most people never reach in their entire life. But understand this clearly. This is not for everyone. Because once you see the truth, you can't go back to being average. You can't go back to overthinking every move. You can't go back to living under someone else's expectations. You either evolve or you stay exactly where you are. So the question is simple. Are you ready to remove hesitation from your mind and replace it with controlled power? Before we move forward, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I control myself. Number 1. Build an internal authority system. Most people don't make decisions. They outsource them. They look around, scan reactions, measure opinions, and then adjust their behavior to match what feels safe. They follow trends, obey unspoken rules, and align themselves with what gets accepted. Not because it's right, but because it avoids conflict. This is why they hesitate. Because when your direction comes from outside, every step requires confirmation. Every move feels uncertain. Every choice becomes a risk. Not because the situation is dangerous, but because you don't trust your own judgment. Understand this clearly. If you need approval before you act, you are not in control. You are being managed, and you've been faking it your entire life. Everything you think is confidence is actually weakness in disguise. What you call confidence, the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you hold eye contact, most of it is not yours. It was given to you, approved by others, conditioned into you. You learned when to speak, when to stay quiet, when to shrink, when to act acceptable. And now you think that's confidence? No, that's permission. You hesitate not because you are weak, but because you were trained to hesitate. Trained to fear rejection. Trained to avoid risk. Trained to stay small so others feel comfortable around you. Every time you overthink, every time you doubt yourself, every time you hold back your words or delay your actions, that's not your true nature. That's programming. The truth most people will never accept. Real confidence is not loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't beg for attention. Real confidence is silent control. It is the ability to act without internal resistance, to move without asking for approval, to decide without explaining yourself to the world. That's power, because in a world where everyone is controlled by fear, opinions, and invisible rules, the person who controls himself becomes untouchable. Think about it. The moment you stop needing validation, you become dangerous. The moment you stop explaining your decisions, you become unpredictable. The moment you stop hesitating, you become unstoppable. And that's exactly what this video is going to do to you. These 7 ruthless lessons are not here to motivate you. Motivation is temporary, weak. It fades the moment things get hard. And the more you depend on external signals, the weaker your decision-making becomes. You start second-guessing simple choices. You delay actions that should be immediate. You wait for the right time, the right response, the right conditions. But those conditions never arrive, because external authority is unstable. It shifts with people, environments, and circumstances. What is accepted today can be rejected tomorrow. What works in one room can fail in another. So if your confidence is built on that, it will always collapse under pressure. Watch this pattern. Powerful individuals operate differently. They don't look outward for direction. They create it internally. They build a system of standards, rules, and principles that do not change based on opinion. A structure that guides their behavior regardless of the environment they are in. This is internal authority. And once it's established, hesitation disappears because decisions are no longer emotional. They become automatic. You don't ask, what will they think? You ask, does this align with my standard? You don't pause to measure reactions. You execute based on clarity. That's the shift. Now here's where most people fail. They believe internal authority means arrogance, acting without listening, ignoring all feedback. That's not power. That's ignorance. Real internal authority is not about rejecting input. It's about filtering it. You listen, you observe, you gather information. But the final decision always comes from you. No hesitation, no dependence. You decide what matters. You decide what is acceptable. You decide how you move. That level of control changes everything. Because when your standards are clear, your behavior becomes consistent. And consistency creates identity. People begin to recognize a pattern in you. You don't bend under pressure. You don't shift based on approval. You don't break when challenged. That's when respect starts forming. Not because you demanded it, but because your actions prove stability. And stability is rare. Make this practical. Start defining your internal rules, not vague ideas, not emotional statements, clear, non-negotiable standards. What do you tolerate? What do you reject? How do you respond under pressure? What actions do you take regardless of fear? Write them, refine them, live by them. Because the moment you create your own system, you remove dependency. And once dependency is removed, hesitation loses its foundation. You stop waiting. You stop adjusting. You stop seeking permission. You move. This is where confidence begins, not in how you feel, but in how you decide. Because when your mind knows that every action comes from a controlled internal system, it stops resisting. There is no confusion, no conflict, only direction. And direction creates speed. Speed creates dominance. So if you want to eliminate hesitation at its root, stop asking the world how to move. Build your own system and follow it without compromise. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I decide my rules. Number 2, train yourself to normalize pressure. Most people don't fail because they lack skill. They fail because they collapse under pressure the moment intensity rises. Their breathing changes. Their thoughts scatter. Their actions slow down. Their mind shifts from execution to survival. Instead of focusing on what needs to be done, they focus on what could go wrong. And in that moment, they lose control. Pressure doesn't create weakness. It exposes it. It reveals your default patterns, your emotional triggers, your level of control when things are no longer comfortable. That's why two people can face the same situation and respond completely differently. One freezes, the other moves with precision. One hesitates, the other adapts instantly. The difference is not talent, the difference is conditioning. Weak minds avoid pressure. They design their lives around comfort. They choose easy environments, predictable routines, and low-risk decisions. They think this protects them, but in reality it makes them fragile. Because the less pressure you experience, the less capable you become when it finally appears. And it always appears. In conversations that matter, in decisions that carry consequences, in moments where hesitation costs opportunity. If you are not trained for those moments, you will default to fear. The test that proves this. Now, understand this. Pressure is not your enemy. It is your training ground. The goal is not to eliminate it. That's impossible. The goal is to normalize it to the point where it no longer disrupts your thinking or your actions. This is how you build real confidence. Not by avoiding discomfort, but by making it familiar. Because what is familiar no longer feels threatening. When your mind repeatedly experiences high-pressure situations, something changes. The emotional spikes begin to flatten. The intensity that once overwhelmed you starts to feel manageable. Your breathing stabilizes. Your thoughts become clearer. Your reactions become controlled. You stop panicking. You start performing. But this doesn't happen by accident. It requires deliberate exposure. You have to place yourself in environments where pressure exists. Situations where the outcome matters. Where there is risk, uncertainty, and the possibility of failure. Not once, not occasionally, repeatedly. You train under it. You stay in it longer than you want to. You resist the urge to escape. You observe how your mind reacts, how your body responds, how your behavior shifts. And instead of avoiding those reactions, you learn to control them. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Your instincts will tell you to retreat, to delay, to find an easier path. That's your old conditioning trying to protect you. Ignore it. Because every time you stay in pressure without collapsing, you rewire your response. You prove to your mind that intensity is not danger, it's just a condition. And once your mind accepts that, everything changes. You begin to operate differently in situations that used to control you. You speak with more clarity when others hesitate. You make decisions faster when others overthink. You remain steady when others lose composure. That's when people start noticing a shift. They won't understand it. They won't know why you seem calm when things get intense, but they will feel it. Because most people are ruled by pressure, and when they see someone who isn't, it stands out immediately. The deeper advantage. Now here's the deeper advantage. When pressure becomes normal to you, it becomes abnormal to others. That gives you control. Because while they are reacting emotionally, you are thinking strategically. While they are trying to escape discomfort, you are using it as an advantage. While they are slowing down, you are moving forward. This is how dominance is built. Not through aggression, not through force, but through stability under conditions that break others. So if you want to become fearlessly confident, stop trying to feel ready. Start training under pressure. Put yourself in situations that challenge your control. Stay there, adapt, repeat, until what once overwhelmed you becomes your natural environment. That's when hesitation disappears, because pressure no longer signals danger, it signals opportunity. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. Pressure builds me. Share it with someone who needs it and subscribe to the channel, because what comes next will not make life easier. It will make you harder to control. And remember this final truth. The world does not respond to intention. It responds to action. If you want part 2, drop this final affirmation in the comments. I choose action.